What's up guys, welcome back to Daniel Talks Football right here on YouTube. I am Daniel and we are back with another video. In this video we are going to be talking about one player your club needs to sell. It's the player that's deadwood around the club, or the player that maybe has contract situations and hence needs to leave because of that. Before we get into the rest of the video, subscribe. There's that big red fat subscribe button down below. Please go down below and click that, it'd greatly help me out. Make sure you turn on the notification bell, switch the notifications to all. Also, comment down below, what do you think about what I'm going to say? What player does your club need to sell? Also, like the video. I don't know if I've already said that, but make sure you like the video. It greatly helps me out. Also, go over and follow our Instagram and TikTok. Daniel Talks Football on both. Again, would greatly help me out, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Last time, we went from bottom to top on the list of clubs in any random order. This time, we'll do it the other way. So, we'll start off with Chelsea for this one. And the player I think Chelsea needs to sell is Hakim Ziyech. Now, Ziyech screams average to me. I know he was alright with Ajax when they progressed to the Champions League semis, I think it was. But ever since his move to Chelsea, he screams average to me, as I say. He was supposed to go to AC Milan in the summer. They were heavily linked with him, but he just never got that move. And it's a shame because I think the move to AC Milan would have really worked out. A front three of Giroud, Leao and Ziyech, I think, would have been a really good attack for them. And he would have moved on from Chelsea, which is needed because, as I say, he's not good enough for this Chelsea side. He doesn't fit in under Potter. He played 7 games so far this season for the Blues with 0 goal involvements. He's not good enough and he needs to go. Where do I think he should go? Italy. I think Italy would be a very good location for him. Possibly to Roma or AC, that option could still be available. Try and get 15 to 20 mil and I think you're fine. But for me, Ziyech needs to move on from Chelsea. Next up, we've got Everton, and this is a very quick one. Salomon Rondon. He's deadwood at the club. He's not needed. I don't really know what else to say. He's just not needed at Everton. He's deadwood. He's just picking up a wage. He's not doing anything. He was a Rafa Benitez signing, and he never even looked good under Rafa, never mind looked good under Lampard. It's time to move the Venezuelan, I think, on. Send him back to China where he came from. Or maybe, you never know, maybe he'd be interested in moving to Qatar. But he's not European standard really anymore. So yeah, Salomon Rondon, get him gone from Everton. Next up, we've got Nottingham Forest. Now, for me, Jesse Lingard's actually the one that I think Forest need to sell in January. His contract's going to be up at the end of the season. He's played 10 Premier League games for Forest so far this season. 0 goal involvements. There were differing in rumours on what he's actually on per week, on what his wages per week. Some people are saying it's near 200 grand, or some people are saying it's more like 80. And then there's performance bonuses that take you near to 80 grand. I'm not sure. So say it's 100 grand a week. Just say it's that. He's not doing much for a player on 100 grand a week. Morgan Gibbs-White is a player who's far clear of Lingard for what he's actually doing for the club. While there's also a player that will stay with the club for the long haul. Jesse Lingard, it hasn't worked out at Forest, and I think it's time to move him on. I know he hasn't been there for long, but I just don't think Lingard's good enough. Simple as that, really, for me. Where should he go? I think Qatar. I think Qatar works really well for him. Or the alternative is MLS, because the MLS would be happy to kind of let him do his little TikTok dances and things like this. They would be happy to let him do that kind of thing. So for me, it's MLS or Qatar. But yeah, Forest, get rid of Lingard in January for me. Next up, we've got another team that play in red, which is Liverpool. For me, it's Nat Phillips. 1 game so far this season, and he's just not performed well for this Liverpool side. He hasn't been given the chances, in all honesty. It's not that he hasn't performed well, he hasn't been given the chances. He's got people like Matip, Gomez, Van Dijk, Konate all in front of him. He's 5th choice centre-back. He really impressed in that season when Liverpool had all their injuries. Didn't do great at Bournemouth in the second half of last season, I'm going to be honest. I didn't think he was excellent. So he's gone back to Liverpool, didn't get a summer move. And now he's just rendered useless at Liverpool. He's not playing games under Klopp. And I think it's time for them to move him on. Where does he go? A move to the top end of the Championship would probably be a good move for him. He could do a job in the Prem, but I think a move to the top end of the Championship. Someone like a Norwich, maybe a Watford, maybe a chef, maybe a QPR. That could be a good move. But it's time to move him on from Liverpool for me. So yeah, time to go. Next up, we've got Wolves, and I didn't even realise Bonatini was still at the club. Get him gone. He's played 0 games for Wolves all year. He's deadwood there. He was out on loan somewhere either last season. Was it last season? Was he out on loan in like Mexico or something? I don't know. He's useless. Get him gone. It's quite an easy one for Wolves for me. Bonatini. His first name is Leo. I'm not sure. Get him gone. That's the gist of it. Right, next up we've got Bournemouth. And for me, Rothwell is the guy that needs to go from Bournemouth. He's played 1 game in the league so far this year. He's not getting the game time, which, that's shown by... I think it's time to move him on from the club. As I say, he's not getting the game time at the Cherries. And I think it's time to shift him on. He could easily get a move back to the mid-table of the Championship. Maybe, I don't know, Reading. Reading would do. I could pick lots of Bournemouth players in all honesty, because again, I think there are a lot of players in the squad that are Championship quality, and I am looking at this as them as a Premier League club. And there are a lot of players that are Championship quality, but for me, Rothwell, time to move him on. 1 game in the league, yeah, not Premier League quality. Next up, we've got Brentford, and again, this is another one that we can quickly go through. Good is the guy that I've picked. Gouda, good, I don't know. Played 0 games for the club this season. Time to shift him on. This is quite easy, really. I just look at the player with the least amount of games. I've said that. I've got up next. Oh, you're going to kill me. Brentford, yeah, good. He just hasn't played all season for them. There's so much competition in that centre-back position at the moment. And he's not getting picked. If he's not getting picked at the moment, Brentford will decide that will look to keep getting stronger. If he's not getting picked, it's time to move him on. Where does he go? Peterborough. I'm just picking random Championship clubs now. Peterborough even in the Championship. I don't know. He'll go to Peterborough. Right. Good to Peterborough. That'll work. Right. Next up, I said this was controversial. And it's Brighton. The man I've said that is going to go is Leandro Trossard. Right. Let me explain this one. Trossard has 6 months left in his contract. Well, he will have 6 months left in his contract in January. I know there's a 12-month extension in there. I know that. So sure, activate that, fine. But he is in great form, Trossard, at the moment. And if you could pick up 40 million for Trossard, I think you do it. In the summer, you wouldn't get 40 million. And his form might not even be as good then. It could be better, but it could not be as good for a player that has, 18 months left in his contract. If that extension is done, which I presume they will do. I think it's just time to move him on. He's got 6 goals for Brighton so far this season in 11 Premier League games. I think now's the time for them to cash in and make the most money and reinvest that into a top-tier striker. It's a really harsh one, but for me, Trossard, the Belgian from Brighton, it's time to go. Next up, we're moving to Manchester and to the Red Devils. For me, I think Wan-Bissaka's the guy to move on. He's played 1 game in the Premier League for United so far this season. He had a really successful start at the club. I think we've all seen the video of the guy crying, going, he wins that ball back so much. I won't remember to put it on the screen, let's be honest. But he's not good enough anymore. The way that Ten Hag's looking to play with fullbacks actually attacking, Wan-Bissaka can't attack. Simple as. He's very good at defending. He'd be really good in an elbow kind of system, I think. He'd be very good in a elbow kind of system where he can sit back a little bit more. Who plays the elbow really well? Brighton used to play the elbow quite well under Potter actually, but I don't know if they still do. Palace, maybe Vieira, he could work from there. I know Arsenal obviously operate excellently. But I look at United and I go, Wan-Bissaka is not needed at the club. 1 game in the Premier League this season shows that people like Dalla are ahead of him in the pecking order, and it's time to move Wan-Bissaka on. So yeah, Wan-Bissaka's the guy to get rid of for Manchester United. Next up we have Leicester, obviously my club, and this is an easy one for me. Yannick Vestergaard, 1 game all season. Did he play in the League Cup? I think he played in the League Cup. It's time to get Yannick Vestergaard gone for me. 0 games played for the Dane, and simply he's just not good enough. He hasn't performed for this side over and over and over again, and it's time to get him gone. So yeah, for me, Leicester, the player they need to get rid of is Yannick Vestergaard. Crystal Palace next, and I've gone for Jairo Riedewald here. 2 games in the Premier League so far for the Dutch midfielder, defender. He's quite versatile so far this season. Again, he just hasn't fit in really at Selhurst Park. It's never seemed to have worked out for him there. He joined a couple of years ago now, and he joined with quite a lot of excitement around him. But you look at where Riedewald is now, and he just hasn't developed his play. He hasn't been given much game time either, in all honesty. But the fact I don't even particularly know what he is says a lot about the player he is. It's time for him to get a move. Where should he go? Because I've realised I forgot to do that for the last few. Where should he go? I don't even know where Riedewald goes. Possibly Utrecht in the Eredivisie, sure. Riedewald to Utrecht, but yeah, time to get him gone from Palace. For me, he's just not good enough. Next up, we've got Arsenal, and for me, Cedric Suarez is the man to get rid of here. 0 games so far in the Premier League for Cedric so far this season. He just needs to go. He's massive deadwood at the club. I don't know how many right backs Arsenal have got at the moment, but he's absolutely bottom of that list. They've obviously got Tomiyasu, and Ben White's been playing out there as well, of course, because they are a side that do operate the elbow very well, so obviously that right back can play more, you know, as a centre back. Cedric just isn't getting game time because he's not good enough for Arsenal. I don't know why they ever signed him when Southampton were willing to let him go. The signing always puzzled me, same with Pablo Mari that summer. It was a signing that really, really puzzled me. I didn't get it at all. It's time for them to move him on. Where does he go? I could see him... Either he could go back to Portugal. He could go to... Oh, where could he go in Portugal? He could go to a lot of mid-table sides in Portugal. Or the alternative is he drops down to the Championship and goes to Norwich. If Norwich were to lose Max Aarons, I don't know how he's performing this season, but if Norwich were to lose Max Aarons, maybe Cedric is a man that they could bring in. I think he's still got something to offer in England, but not for a club as well run and as high up the table at the moment as Arsenal. Next up, we have Southampton, and again, this is another very easy one for me. Theo Walcott. He's played 1 game in the Premier League so far this season. He's been deadwood for Southampton pretty much ever since they re-signed him from Everton. I don't really know. I mean, I presume they signed him back as an experienced head, but I look at that signing now and I think he hasn't done anything for Southampton since they rejoined. Did he start at Southampton? Maybe. I think he may have started at Southampton. So maybe there was a little bit of nostalgia there in bringing Theo back to the club. He's not good enough for Southampton. Where does he go next? I could see him going out to the MLS, in all honesty. I don't think he's the kind of guy that would want to go Qatar. He's done a lot in the game, so I think MLS would be something he could be interested in. If not, again, a move down the leagues to the Championship could be something that could interest him. Where would Walcott fit in the Championship? Let's go... where could he go? You know what? Let's go for a weird one. Let's go for Luton. I could see Theo Walcott fitting in at Luton. But no, yeah. Deadwood at Southampton. It's time for the Saints to get rid. Next up, we have Newcastle. Easy one for me, this Paul Dummett. He screams of Mike Ashley era. He screams of time's gone for this Newcastle side. And it's time for them to get rid of the Welshman. He's played 0 games so far this season, and he's absolutely not fitting in with the new ownership system they have at the club. He, as I say, he screams Mike Ashley era, and it's time for them to get rid. Get rid on a free, let him go down to the Championship, go and play for Cardiff. And yeah, best for all parties. Dummett not needed in the Prem at all. Next up, we've got the Villa, and this was a player I actually spoke about with Villa Bible on his podcast a couple of weeks ago, so make sure you go and check that out. Frederick Gilbert, we ranked all Aston Villa players, and this one was one where he put him in awful because he just isn't playing. 0 games for Gilbert so far this season, and he's not good enough. Simple as. Matty Cash is in front of him in the pecking order, and I'm pretty sure that they've got another right back in the club who's probably ahead of him as well. He's a player that was loaned out to that blue badge in France. I can't remember the name of them now off the top of my head. The one that Ajorc used to play for. He did really well there, in all honesty. But I look at Gilbert now and I just think you're not good enough for the Prem. You're not good enough for Villa. And it's time for them to move you on. Where does he go next? A move back to France could work really well because he did really well out there beforehand. If not, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Maybe go to Toulouse in France. I don't know. But yeah, he's not good enough for the Prem anymore. It's time for Villa to move Gilbert on. We've got a very controversial one up now, and it's Manchester City. Now, there's not much dead wood in this Man City squad. I looked at the centre-backs they've got available, and I thought Nathan Ake, they've brought in Akanji. They could let Ake go, and he wouldn't really be a big miss. I thought about it, but I thought, you know what? I want to go controversial. So the player that I think Man City need to sell is Jack Grealish. Kill me, kill me, kill me. He's a good player, Jack. But he just doesn't fit in the City side for me. They spend an awful lot of money on him and he just doesn't look like it's working out for him at all. City still have players in that setup like Mahrez, like Foden, like Bernardo Silva, like De Bruyne, and Grealish isn't better than any of those players that I've just mentioned. He's got 11 games and 1 goal so far for City so far this season, and he's just not good enough for me. They need to get rid of him. And where could he go? I think Arsenal could be a really, really good move for him, in all honesty. You obviously had Jesus and Zinchenko that have gone to Arsenal. And I look at Jack and I just think that Arsenal move could work well for him. Obviously, other City players have kind of revived their careers there. If not Arsenal, Spurs need a creative player. Could he go there? Possibly, if Conte were to move on. Grealish needs to leave Man City for me. The £100 million move from Villa just has not worked out, so yeah, Jack Grealish needs to leave Man City. Shoot me. Next up, we've got Fulham, and for me, again, it's another easy one. This Josh Onoma, he isn't getting game time there. The Englishman, I think he's English. Is he English? I think so. He's not getting game time at Fulham. 1 game so far in the Premier League so far this season. Not good enough. Get rid. Simple as. Next up, we've got West Ham, and again, it's another quite easy one. Manuel Lanzini, I've gone for. I think they should have got rid of him in the summer. I can see him going back to Argentina, in all honesty, possibly going to Racing Club. I could see that. I know he scored that wonder goal last season, but I just look at Lanzini now, and they've improved upon him so much. If they're loaning out players like Vlasic, because he's not good enough, then Manuel Lanzini absolutely isn't good enough. They're bringing in players like Lucas Paqueta, yet Lanzini's still around the club. It doesn't sit right with me. Lanzini's a player that West Ham need to move on. Where does he go? As I say, I think back to Argentina would be a very good move for him. But yeah, Lanzini, he's just not good enough. Next up, we've got Leeds. Now, this was a player that actually came to the Premier League with an awful lot of hype, and it's Junior Firpo. Arrived from Barcelona for around 15 to 20 million a couple of years back, and he just hasn't settled at Leeds under Bielsa or now under Marsh. He's played 2 games so far for the Yorkshire outfits this season, and he's just not good enough. He wasn't good enough at Barcelona. You usually think a player coming out of Barcelona, they're an alright player. Firpo isn't. He's not good enough at all. Where does he go? I think back to Spain could suit him, possibly a move to a club like Betis, or Betis, I like that. Firpo to Betis, or Espanyol maybe. Go back to Barcelona. Firpo is not good enough for the Premier League, and playing 2 games this Leeds side, again, it just shows that you are not good enough. So for me, Firpo, time to go. And then last but not least, we've got Spurs. For Spurs, I've said Lucas Moura is the guy that needs to go. He's played 7 games for Conte's side so far this season, scoring 0 goals. He's a backup option for the club at this point. Some of these players are simply not needed. Moura could still be needed if he wanted to stay, but they could probably get 10 to 15 million for him. And look at him, he's massive deadwood for the club, and it's time for them to get rid of him. But yeah, that is the end of the video. I hope you have all enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you all again in the next one. See ya!